Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the regular council meeting of Monday, April 7th at 4:30 p.m. We have a few announcements, and let's start off with Tom.
Vimy Ridge, April 9th, 1917. At 5:30 a.m. Easter Monday, April 9th, 1917, the assault on Vimy Ridge began. It was the first occasion on which all 4 divisions of the Canadian Corps attacked as a composite formation. The Canadians stormed the 7-kilometer ridge in the early morning, overrunning German troops along the front. This kept moving forward under heavy fire and captured the ridge in 4 days. The victory at Vimy came at a devastating cost. Vimy Ridge Day remembers Canadians who fought in the Battle of Vimy Ridge during World War I, and those soldiers honored on the memorial. About 30,000 Canadians fought at Vimy Ridge and claimed victory. However, this victory came at a high cost. Canadians suffered about 11,000 casualties. Of these, nearly 3,600 Canadians were killed. 11,285 names appear on the Vimy Ridge Memorial. These Canadians were never even found. The following Drumheller servicemen are honored and inscribed in the Vimy Ridge Memorial: Private Aubrey Thomas Bell, Private Milburn Roger Burkholder, Private George Doveton Greentree, Private Robert Landsberg, Private Thomas McCullough, Lieutenant Donald Wallace MacDonald, and Private Gutorm Rustad.
Thank you, Tom. Patrick?
I just want to say congratulations to the Drumheller Dragons for advancing to the South Final of the AJHL playoffs. But they still need your help. They're on the ice tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, and then Wednesday night at the same time for games 3 and 4 of the series. Hope to see everyone there.
Thank you, Patrick. Crystal?
Just a reminder, it is nomination period, and it's open for this year's municipal election that will be taking place on October 20th. So if you are passionate about making a difference in our community and you have a vision to lead, please consider running for municipal office. You can go to the Town of Drumheller website for more information.
Thank you, Crystal. Daryl?
Thank you. So just want to give a shout out to the Town of Drumheller and Kerwood Lytle, who does our project management on our flood program. We were recent recipients or finalists for the project management category at the Consulting Engineers of Alberta Awards ceremony that was held in Edmonton on Friday night. There was 7 finalists in our category, and unfortunately we didn't win. The group that won was Design, Build, Innovation, Collaborative Project Management of the West Calgary Ring Road. So kind of hard to compete with something that was probably $80 or $90 million in engineering fees. But kudos to for us to go through dozens of applications and to be considered a finalist. So great job by everybody, and a good time was had by all. There was about 500 people in attendance. So.
Thank you, Daryl. And it was a wonderful event, and congratulations to Dagan, yourself, Mark, everybody involved, all the work that's been done on that project. So thank you. And finally, I would just like to remind everybody about the 2020 challenge to get our community cleaned up for Earth Day. This weekend, I saw many people out with their bags and helping clean up our community, and I appreciate that and ask you to spend 20 minutes a day for 20 days to help clean up the valley, and we will have it all pretty before Earth Day. So thank you to everybody for your support. All right, I would like to see if there's any additions to the agenda. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda, please? Tony?
I move that council adopt the agenda for the April 7th, 2025 regular council meeting as presented.
Seconder, please. Patrick? All in favor? Carried. Can I get a motion to accept the minutes of March 17th, please? Stephanie?
I move that council approve the minutes for the March 17th, 2025 regular council meeting as presented.
Seconder, please. Crystal? Comments? All in favor? Carried. Can I get a motion to accept the minutes of the special council meeting on March 27th, please? Patrick,
I move the council approve the minutes of the March 27th, 2025 special council meeting as presented.
seconder, please. Stephanie, comments? All in favor? Carried, thank you. All right, let's move on to 6.1.1, please, Daryl.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the next three requests for decisions are all very similar, and they do have to do with redesignation of land for the flood mitigation program. So the first one is the downtown berm east land designation. So this is a piece of land that is right to the southeast of Riverside condos, and there's a myriad of little parcels in there, and of course the ultimate goal is to conjoin all those parcels into one and make one large public utility lot. This requires, in this particular case, bylaw 0925 requires us first to take the designation of a municipal reserve, which is this parcel of land, and convert that and redesignate that land so that it's no longer a municipal reserve. And then we will redesignate the lot as a public utility lot, which is what we're doing with all of the floodlands, to make them either a public utility lot, preferably, or an environmental reserve as the second choice. So this bylaw will remove the status of being a municipal reserve, and then we will be bringing another one shortly to council to designate the lot as a PUL. So what we're requesting is that council gives first reading to this bylaw. I think that the public hearing starts later on this one, so and that we will set a public hearing date for Monday, May 5th to hear this. Again, because we are going through a land piece, we have to set a public hearing date to see if there's any opposition for it, or favor. So.
And typically we don't do this, Daryl, before a motion. However, I just want to clarify for listening public that this is just really, again, another housekeeping item.
Yeah, if we didn't need a public hearing on this, we would request all three readings tonight for it. But because we are doing it, we are actually requesting it because you have to, because we are changing it from a municipal reserve to just general land, and then when it comes time to do the PUL, we would just make that as just a housekeeping item. So.
Okay, thank you. All right, can I get a motion, please, council? Tom?
I move the council give first reading to bylaw number 09.25, downtown berm Riverside East removal of land designation, as presented, and set the public hearing date for Monday, May the 5th, 2025.
Seconder, please. Tom or Tony? All in favor? Carried, thank you. 6.1.2, please, Daryl.
Thank you. So just for the listening public, if you can't hear it, someone calls us every so often. There's a number that they call and we have no idea who it is. And it is that it never gets answered, but this has happened on occasion in the past. So downtown Berm Riverside West land designation. So this is actually taking a piece of the land and converting it into a public utility lot. And so this is a portion of the land, if I recall, that is just to the north and west of the condos, Riverside condos. So you can see in the package, the land in hatched area that is being proposed to be changed to a PUL. So this is, again, right now, a couple of different little designations of land. And so we are going to make it all one, which is a public utility lot. So unlike the last one, which had one reading, we're recommending that council passes all three readings of the bylaw tonight so that we can then designate this as a public utility lot, which is just in line with what we're doing with our other pieces of land down throughout all of our berm projects.
Thank you, Daryl. Can I get a motion, please, council, for first reading? Tony?
I move that council gives first reading to bylaw number 10.25, downtown berm Riverside West land designation as presented.
Seconder, please, Stephanie. All in favor? Carried. Can I get a motion for second reading, please? Patrick?
I move the council give second reading to bylaw 10.25 downtown Berm Riverside West land designation as presented.
Seconder, please. Crystal, comments? Tom?
Was this some of the land that we purchased off the Canalta to build the dike? We had to purchase a strip there?
Yes, this actually is three separate parcels of land. There was a strip of land that was previously owned by Canalta and sold to the town. There was land that was owned by Alberta Infrastructure on there. That would be the primary older or original berm. And there was also a couple of pieces that would belong to Alberta Environment that we have no understanding of why they had these little tiny parcels. So it's basically it's converting all of those to a PUL.
Anybody else? All right, all in favor, second reading? Carrie, can I get a consent to go into third reading, please, Crystal?
I move that council give unanimous consent for third reading of bylaw number 10.25 downtown Berm Riverside West land designation as presented.
Seconder, please. Stephanie? All in favor? Carried. Motion for third reading, please. Tony?
I move that council give third and final reading to bylaw number 10.25 downtown Berm Riverside West land designation as presented.
Seconder, please. Patrick? Comments? All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Daryl. 6.1.3, please.
Bylaw 11.25 is the Machichi Creek East Berm land designation. So this is the same thing as the previous one. This is conversion of there's three separate parcels of land there and converting all of them to a public utility lot. So this again is in line with what we're doing with all of our berm projects throughout the town. Where possible, convert into PUL. If not, then to an environmental reserve. And this one there are three distinct parcels of land, which is why it shows on the bylaw that there are three separate sections that need to be converted, although it's all being done through the same bylaw. So same exact modus operandi as the previous one and others that we've done in the town.
Thank you. I get a motion for first reading, please. Stephanie?
I move that council gives first reading to bylaw number 11.25, Machichi Creek East Berm land designation as presented.
Seconder, please. Patrick? All in favor? Carrie, can I get a motion for second reading, please? Tom?
I move that council give second reading to bylaw number 11.25, Machichi Creek East Berm land designation as presented.
Seconder, please. Crystal? Comments? Tom?
So I've had lots of comments over the last while about the availability of land such as this for public use. So if somebody wants to walk along the river, could they walk along this land?
Technically, yes, although not easily because it's fenced at the all along the public, all along the bottom of the toe of the slope, as well as adjacent to the bridge. So just like it was before, so nothing changes here. But there's nothing that we've, again, one of our tenements was that we weren't going to create paths where no paths previously existed. This didn't have a path previously, so the intent isn't to create one here. Although if someone really wanted to walk in this area, just like any of the other ones in town, there's nothing that prevents them from doing it because it is public lands.
Anybody else? Patrick?
Could you just outline the difference between a public utility lot and an environmental reserve and why we would select one over the other in a situation like this?
Sure. I'll start with an environmental reserve. So environmental reserve, both are created by motions of council and passed through a bylaw. An environmental reserve, once created, can never be changed to anything else. It can only be shrunk. So if you have an environmental reserve, if these lands, for instance, are, to use the example of areas A, B, and C, and there's a little tiny sliver that's right near Willow Avenue. So you could never change this to anything else. and you could shrink it down to a smaller size, and it's really intended to have land that is unusable for any other purpose. Whereas a public utility lot, so we have done those for all of the floodway lands. Council has passed bylaws for all the floodway lands, Lehigh, West Rosedale, etc., where there will never be anything constructed on them ever again, and that they can't be used because they are in the floodway and prone to flooding. Public utility lot allows us some flexibility to be able to, in the future, if councils of the future want to create a or a utility for land drainage, like many municipalities have, then you can actually add the uh, idea of having a public utility lot for berms as part of the cost that you use for a public utility or for a drainage utility. But it also gives you more flexibility with respect to changing the lands. There's no intention to change this into anything, commercial lands or anything like that in the future, but it just allows, it is a utility on there. So I think we all have to get used to the idea that berms are utilities, not unlike water or wastewater is. And it just creates something that we have in similar vein where we have water or wastewater services that are public utility lots. Is that helpful?
Any other comments? All in favor of second reading? Carrie, can I get a motion to go into consent for third, please? Patrick?
I move the council give unanimous consent for third reading of bylaw 11.25 Michichi Creek East berm land designation as presented.
Seconder? Tony? All in favor? Carrie, can I get a motion for third reading, please? Crystal?
I move that council give third and final reading to bylaw number 1125, Machichi Creek East Berm land designation as presented.
Seconder, please. Stephanie, comments? All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Daryl. Okay, let's move on to 6.1.4, please. Mitchell and Angela.
Good evening, Your Worship and Council. My name is Mitch Visser. I'm the Manager of Legislative Services, and with me is Angela Keibel, the Legislative Services Coordinator. This evening, we would like to talk about an amendment to Bylaw 04.21. So 04.21 is a bylaw for a council and committee procedure bylaw. It was passed on September 13th, 2021. The bylaw governs the conduct or the procedures rather of council meetings, committee of the whole meetings, council board and committee meetings, and public hearings. So on October 17th, 2024, there was an amendment to the MGA, which came into force relatively recently, and it makes changes to both the MGA and the Elections Act. Of note, one of the amendments requires that council hold public hearings or have an option to hold public hearings via electronic meetings. So currently, bylaw 04.21 does not contain any process for allowing individuals to present electronically. So therefore, there is a need for an amendment to this bylaw. Since we are opening this bylaw up to make an amendment, we felt it was a good time to look at the public hearing process as a whole and make some updates, look at some other municipalities for best practices, and just kind of review our current process and make some updates. So we have some proposed changes in bylaw number 17.25, and I'll go into those in a little bit more detail. So the proposed changes are primarily, like I said, either best practices adopted by some other municipalities or their current public hearing procedures that we do now but aren't codified in the bylaw. So within our current bylaw, none of the procedures that we're undertaking are incorrect. They are just, it's limited in terms of describing how the procedure should take place. And so we thought it was a good idea to expand on that to provide some more information, especially if there is a new councilors coming into place. It's good to have those procedures outlined clearly and codified. So some of the proposed changes in here are the ones that are required by the amendment to the MGA. So that's public hearings will be held electronically and in person. We've also made some additions, codified some registration deadlines for individuals who want to present electronically, or who want to provide a written submission for any public hearing to appear in the agenda package. We've also outlined a clear order of business for public hearings. We've also created some more in-depth rules of conduct for public hearings, including a time limit for presentations and some other rules to be included. We also will now require any counselor who was absent from the public hearing to abstain from voting in a future decision on the topic. And we'll also disallow an individual from bringing forward a topic for discussion at council that was already discussed at a public meeting. So if somebody had an opportunity to present in the past and they didn't take that, they won't be able to bring that topic forward in the future. So there are, when we were going through bylaw 04.21, there were some other changes we thought might be necessary to update. Just in the absence of time, we do need to make these changes by April 30th, 2025. We've decided that it'd be best to bring some other changes to bylaw 04.21 over the summer. And again, those will be similar to the changes in this section regarding public hearings, where it's, again, just updating our process and kind of codifying some things that we're already doing, but just including it in the bylaw and adding some clarity around how the procedures take place. So attached for your review, we have the amending bylaw number 17.25, which is the amending bylaw. We also have a red line version of bylaw 04.21, and we have a draft consolidated bylaw. So that consolidated bylaw is the amended bylaw consolidated into a single document for easy viewing. So yeah, those are the updates I have now. And if you have any specifics on the proposed changes, please feel free to ask. I'll take some questions.
Okay, can I get a motion, please, council, to get first reading? Tony?
I move that council give first reading to bylaw number 17.25, amending bylaw for bylaw number 04.21 as presented.
Seconder, please. Stephanie, all in favor? Carrie, can I get a motion for second reading, please? Patrick?
I move the council give second reading to bylaw 17.25, amending bylaw for bylaw number 04.21 as presented.
Seconder, please. Crystal? Comments, please. Crystal?
Yeah, just because it confused me a little bit. There's two requests for decisions in the package, and I want to make sure that they're not the same, but they look very the same. So just if public is listening to this, so just FYI.
I think they might be the same. I think that might be a bit of a mistake in the agenda package.
Okay, good. My question was just because in the public hearing bylaw, it says anyone who this may affect could present, whereas delegation to council, you have to be a taxpayer of the community. So I just want to make sure those are two separate items.
Yeah, so delegations will be handled differently than a public hearing. So there'll also be different timelines involved in it. But so within the public hearing process, there'll also be a requirement. So to state if you're from the jurisdiction as well, when you make when you come to council, you can, for a public hearing, you can present in person at that time. You can also make a written submission if you do so by a certain deadline, and that written submission will be included in the agenda package. And you can also, again, register to present electronically, and there will also be a deadline attached to that. In either of those cases, there is a requirement to just state what jurisdiction you're from or general area to kind of gauge how that change might actually affect you.
And then, so we could, for public hearings, we could now attend virtually, and because we attend virtually, then we can be part of the motion the next time, right? The vote.
Yeah, that would be correct. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
I'm just going to follow up on that one. Should that be a little bit more clear that whether it's are in person or online, just to clarify that a bit?
Yeah, so I think there's another section within 04.21 that goes into more detail on like holding meetings electronically in general, so not just in terms of public hearings. I think that's something we also want to review. So that would be something I'd want to bring back over the summer to look at a little bit more in depth and create some clarity and rules around how we want to hold those meetings electronically. If that's something council wants, we can also maybe beef that up a little bit in the current iteration that we're bringing.
I'm sorry, guys, I don't usually do this, but because I don't keep my train of thought. So is there going to be something in there that clearly states, like, there's only, we don't, and I'm just speaking, I'm not going to be, however, you don't want counselors attending every meeting via online. So I just want to make sure there's a limited number in there, because it's a whole different game when you're, we've all had to at some point come in online for some reason or other, but I've dealt with other mayors where many of their counselors don't ever show up in person. So I want to make sure we just protect the future councils for that in this bylaw somewhere.
Yeah, so currently within the bylaw, in section 5.2, what it says is that with approval from the members, a member may attend a meeting by electronic device. And so they would always be subject to the approval of the rest of council. So it's a little bit of a check and balance there, where if somebody is doing that consistently, then the other members of council may deny that request in the future.
Any other comments? All right, and this is coming back for third reading. Okay, April 22nd?
April 22nd,
Okay,
yes.
perfect. And I did have one more. So I'm just trying to understand. So it says the mayor shall ask 3 times when anyone else wishes to present the objection. Not that I'm disagreeing with that, but I'm just want to understand what is the purpose of that, because typically, like, I've never had that situation, so I'm just curious why that's that.
In our research for this section of the council procedures bylaw, and also due to some circumstances that in other municipalities where submissions were not requested 3 times, there was case law based on that, where the bylaw was overturned because it was decided there was not ample opportunity for people to present. So we are going to include in the procedure a timed response so that everybody can have ample opportunity to be recognized and present. And that's the reason we've put it in this procedure.
Okay, so when this comes back April 22nd, these will go into effect, and then our May 5th public hearing, those will be in effect, and you'll make sure my notes are updated. Okay.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right. Any other questions? Well done. Lots of work on this. Thank you both. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. All right, we shall move on to 6.1.5. Please, Daryl.
Thank you again, Your Worship. So this is a appointment of replacements for boards and committees. So as I believe everyone is well aware, Councillor Hanson Zacharak has been away due to extended medical leave. And this leave was recently extended again. And I guess one of the things overlooked in this early on in this process was that there are a number of boards and committees that Councillor Hanson Zacharak sits on, and there has been no attendance on or council representative on these boards. A couple of the boards also have administration on there, so it hasn't been completely void of town representation, but we'd like to actually have council appoint a couple of members. So in the discussion section, there are 5 boards and committees: Economic Development Advisory Committee, Taxi Commission, Community Standards Appeal Board, the Red River Municipal User Group, and the Drumheller District Chamber of Commerce. Now, of those 5 groups, the Taxi Commission was recently repealed, the bylaw. The Economic Development Advisory Committee was also recently repealed. The council as a whole sits on the Community Standards Appeal Board, which requires 3 members minimum for quorum. So those we aren't concerned about for obvious reasons. However, administration is recommending that council appoints somebody to the Red Deer River Municipal User Group board, as well as the Drumheller and District Chamber of Commerce. The Red Deer River, I'm going to just say RDR MUG, is basically a group of municipal entities that are right from the headwaters of the Red Deer, so just from Sundre and up in that area all the way down to the Saskatchewan border. And so there's about 24 members that sit on that board, so it's a very large group. The CAO is also on there as was recently a change from a board member to a advisor capacity. So that's part of the reason why we want to make sure that there's actually a board, a counselor appointed to it. And then the Drumheller District Chamber of Commerce currently is an appointed position. The town has appoint someone to that role to the chamber as part of a previous agreement. So what we are looking for are 2 separate motions and some perhaps arm wrestling about who would actually be the temporary folks to actually take over on the RDR MUG group, as well as the Chamber of Commerce up until the end of this term or sooner if Councillor Hanson-Zacharak returns to active work.
Okay, let's do the first one. Can I get a motion, please, council? Or actually, I'm not gonna call for a motion because we can't appoint until we have a discussion. So we're gonna have to do this a bit different. So who, is willing to sit on the Red Deer River Municipal Users Group? You wanna take that?
Yeah, in Lisa's absence, I could let my name stand as a representative for the Red Deer River Municipal Users Group,
How
if
often
everyone is okay with that.
How often do they meet?
They meet they meet bi-monthly, so every second month. The BCF meetings can also be held. There's a mixture of virtual and in person, and they're usually in the middle of the afternoon. So 1 o'clock till 3 o'clock roughly.
Is there anybody else on council that would like to take it away from Tony? No, I guess not. Can I get a motion for that? Tom?
Yeah, I move that council appoint Councillor Tony Locker to the Red Deer River Municipal Users Group for a term ending October 20th, 2025, or until the return of Councillor Lisa Hanson-Zacharak, whichever is sooner.
Seconder, please. Stephanie, comments? Thank you, Tony, for stepping up. Well done. And as always, we're always thinking of Councillor Lisa Hanson-Zacharak, and we hope she gets back soon. All in favor? Carried. All right, who would like to take the next one, the chamber, district chamber? Tony, you're taking that one too?
No, but I'm gonna make a phenomenal nomination here. And that would be our leader and chief, Mayor Heather Kohlberg. Based on recent events and developments, she's been at the forefront for us from east to west with handling complaints on both behalf of council and administration. Unfortunately, there's not a wide belief that we are at arm's length with this dinosaur thing, and there's been a lot of assumptions made. I think further to the impacts that are available, unfortunately, with Department of Tourism and the impact we could have there on funding, along with complaints going into our Member of Parliament and Nate Horner as well. I think Heather's involvement today would make her a natural fit to carry this forward on our behalf, and I would support that.
Does anybody else want to sit on that board? Not getting a lot of volunteers.
No arm wrestling.
All right, can I get a motion, please? Crystal?
I move that council appoint Mayor Heather Kohlberg to the Drumheller and District Chamber of Commerce for a term ending October 20th, 2025, or until the return of Councillor Lisa Hanson-Zacharek, whichever is sooner.
Seconder, please. Tony, all in favor? Carried. All right. Mitchell, could I request that you advise the Red Deer River Municipal Users Group of Tony's appointment and the Chamber of Commerce of my appointment? I actually believe the chamber meets this Thursday because I was on that board and they usually met the first Thursday of the month. I could be wrong, but if you could check that out, confirm so I know for sure. And then Tony knows for sure where his next meeting is. Thank you very much. Okay, let's move on to 6.1.6, please, Daryl.
Thank you. This is a appointment to the Marigold Library Board of Margaret Nielsen. So, so the town of Drumheller and the Drumheller Public Library are members of the Marigold system, which is the overseer of a lot of the library services and systems that are utilized in this part of the province. So it represents a whole number of libraries around there. Around the province from Canmore to the Saskatchewan border. So Margaret's term has expired, but the Marigold system has recommended her for reappointment, and she has expressed a desire to actually continue on for an additional 3-year term. So council actually has to recommend, council actually has to appoint library board members as well as anyone on Marigold. So we are, administration is recommending that Margaret Nielsen be appointed to the Marigold Library Board as the town of Drumheller's representative for a period of 3-year term ending April 7th, 2028. So Margaret's been on this board before. She's a great resource and a great support to, I think, the Drumheller Library Board, or library system. So I think that we wholeheartedly support her her recommendation to be appointed to the Marigold for a 3 more year period.
I get a motion, please, Stephanie?
I move that council appoint Margaret Nielsen to the Marigold Library Board for a term of 3 years from April 7th, 2025 to April 7th, 2028.
Seconder, please. Patrick, comments? Stephanie?
Thank you. We are very fortunate to have Margaret on the Marigold Library Board. I just wanted to say thank you, Margaret, for continuing this important role. Her experience and knowledge is invaluable, and we are truly grateful for your commitment.
I echo that. Any other comments? All in favor? Carried. Thank you again, Margaret. All right, Daryl, 6.1.7, please.
So speaking of the Drumheller Public Library Board, there are 3 appointments in front of council to consider for 3 members. Sorry, I just forget. Andrea Roberts, Brooke Gipman, and Kenneth Enns, who are looking for 3-year terms starting April 7th, 2025 and ending April 7th, 2028. They have all been vetted and supported by the Drumheller Public Library Board, so they're recommending that council makes the appointments of these 3 members for a 3-year period.
Thank you, Daryl. Can I get a motion, please, on the first one, council? Stephanie?
I move that council approves the appointment of Brooke Gipman to the Drumheller Public Library Board for a term of 3 years, beginning April 7th, 2025 and ending April 7th, 2028.
Seconder? Crystal? Comments? Crystal?
Well, I actually personally do know Brooke Gipman because her and I coached boys basketball together for the last 3 years. And she's also a teacher at the high school. And I can tell you her passion for getting kids to read and write is phenomenal. And what she does in the classroom is incredible because she's taught my kids. And so I know she's going to transfer over to the library board. And she has some really, really great ideas to engage the youth in reading in our community. So really looking forward to have her on the board.
Anybody else? Stephanie?
Yeah, I just pretty much what Crystal said there. Excited to welcome Brooke to the library board, and her passion for literacy, education, and community engagement is more than welcomed. So it's exciting.
Anybody else? All in favor? Carried. Can we move on to the next one, please? A motion? Patrick?
I move the council approve the appointment of Andrea Roberts to the Drumheller Public Library Board for a term of 3 years beginning April 7th, 2025 and ending April 7th, 2028.
Seconder, please, Stephanie. Comments, Stephanie?
Thank you. So Andrea is going to be another great addition to the board. Her view is appreciated and welcomed as the library is important to her and her family. So hopefully welcome to the board, Andrea.
Anybody else? All in favor? Carried. All right, let's move on to Kenneth Enns, please. Can I get a motion, please, council? Stephanie?
I move the council approves the appointment of Kenneth Enns to the Drumheller Public Library Board for a term of 3 years, beginning April 7th, 2025 and ending April 7th, 2028.
Seconder, please. Tom? Comments? Stephanie?
Yes, thank you. Kenneth's knowledge of board governance and willingness to get involved with the community is going to be a great addition to the library board, and looking forward to welcoming him on there.
Anybody else? Just curious, what's the Drumheller lunch coordinator for Ride for Dad? Never heard of it.
I know from my time up north, Ride for Dad is a fundraising group that actually do a motorcycle ride. I imagine they're all over the province, obviously, since it's here too. So it's a fundraiser normally for cancer.
Well, fascinating. Well done, Kenneth. All right, all in favor? Carried. Good to see your boards getting filled there, Stephanie. Okay, let's move on to 6.2.1, please, Greg.
Thank you, Your Worship. My name is Greg Peters. I'm Protective Services Director for the town. If it pleases council, in front of you, I have a request for decision in the package regarding policing committee, adoption of a policing committee for the town. Previously in August, in February, I made a presentation, but there was questions left in the minds of council and myself once we get further into it that needed to be addressed with a great deal of back and forth between the staff sergeant and myself and the provincial governance people. I believe the main questions have been addressed and are included in the discussion below. The recommendation we are making is that the town form its own municipal policing committee, not part of a regional committee, and given our population, it makes it very difficult to join up with our neighboring, as odd as that may sound looking at it, to join up with our neighboring partners in the smaller areas of the actual detachment area of the RCMP. If council's had a chance to look at these questions, are there any other questions or clarification that anybody would like to discuss or I can address?
Thanks, Greg. Can I get a motion, please, council? Tony?
I move that council directs administration to seek approval from the Ministry of Public Safety and Emergency Services to form its own municipal policing committee for the town of Drumheller.
Seconder, please. Stephanie? Comments? Tom?
Yeah, I think this is great. I mean, for years we had Citizens Advisory Committee, the RCMP, we had a police committee, and it provided very valuable feedback to the RCMP, to and fro from citizens to the RCMP and back. And so I think this is a really good step in the right direction. And if it turns out to be as good as it was in the past, I think it would be very good for the town.
Anybody else, Crystal?
Yeah, and I just want people to know this doesn't mean we're creating our own police force, because I've had that question about this. This is a committee, not anything other than that. So just want to make sure the public knows that. Thanks.
Anybody else? All right, Greg, all in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let us move on to 6.3.1. Jason, you are up.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Jason Warwick. I'm the Capital Project Manager for the town. I'm here tonight to present two RFDs. Each RFD has two motions. If it's okay, I'm going to skip the second motion on the first RFD we talk about because it's essentially the same thing on the second. Hopefully that's not confusing. You'll see what I'm talking about. They kind of tie together. So the first one is the 2025 Street Improvement Program for this year. This was out for a public tender process. We received a really good response. We had 8 bid submissions from 23 registered vendors, so that's actually quite good for us. During the tendering process, an amendment was issued to reduce the scope of work for this year. There was some internal concerns that the original scope of work would elicit bids that were far exceeding our available funding for the project. So as such, we reduced it down to Newcastle Trail, basically from 10th Street to Riverside Ave, 12th Street basically in its entirety, so from the start to end to Newcastle Trail. We're going to include the Riverside Walkway, where the current pathway on the east end terminates just kind of in an odd spot in the grass. So we're going to extend that through down to the road and put in a crosswalk so that there's a designated crosswalk going across the street there, so that that pathway will connect to the pathway along the east side of the football field. 5th Street and Highway 9. So we're going to extend that pathway as well. And then the Midland Bridge, on the north side of the Midland Bridge, we're going to connect the pathway, I guess, from the exit of the bridge. If you were heading north, we're going to connect it into that existing pathway that connects so you can get to the museum. So it'll be one continuous loop. So out of the 8 submissions we received, Grindstone Paving was our lowest compliant bidder. They put in a submission of $529,720.43. So out of a $1.2 million budget for the project, considering our engineering commitments and then with the proposal, it's a total of about $84,000 if you take into a contingency. So that leaves $355,000 remaining within that budget. This is where it gets kind of interesting. So we are suggesting that we do award this project to Grindstone Paving for their submitted tender. So that is sort of our first motion, is that council approve the award of the construction portion of the 2025 Street Improvement Program to Grindstone Paving and Excavating for the total amount of $529,720.43. The second part of this motion will kind of tie into the next RFD that I'm going to be speaking about.
All right, I got you. Okay, can I get a motion, council, please? Patrick.
I move that council approve the award of the construction portion of the 2025 Street Improvement Program to Grindstone Paving and Excavating for the total amount of $529,720.43, excluding GST.
Seconder, please. Crystal, comments? Crystal?
First comment, can we start calling it Cahoot Crossing? Because that's technically what it should be called. Yes. I know we all know it as Midland Bridge Pathway, but if we can start thinking about that, is that okay? Your family donated all the money to get that converted, so we appreciate that. I'm just a little bit confused on the Midland Bridge Pathway. Are you talking on the old trail bed heading to the highway?
So if you actually crossed over the bridge using the pathway, where it turns back into gravel, we're going to connect that.
It's just a little tiny section. It's not very big.
Yeah, it's not very long.
Yeah, because the other part is paved going under the bridge. Okay.
Going under the bridge, yeah.
Okay. That was my only comment. Thanks.
Tom?
Yeah, a couple of things with the Newcastle paving. And again, I brought this up before with the adaptive fill that we're putting into Newcastle. Are you going to coordinate that with so that there's not big trucks driving on the new pavement? Get that adaptive fill in there first before you're paving on Newcastle Trail? I don't know, I just,
I guess right now we're debating a couple of things with the adaptive fill on the Newcastle side and Midland side. And most likely it will not be a 2025 project. We'll defer it to 26. We have a couple of other ideas around specifically Newcastle that we're looking at. So the idea is to go ahead and do the paving. I think and if we have to drive on top of it, it's meant to handle heavy truck traffic. So we'll cross that trail when we get to it, I guess.
good segue. Speaking of trail, I have noticed, and I think everybody has noticed, kind of variances in paving quality on the trails. We've got some of the trails that have been paved look tremendous, just like a roadway. And then we've got some of the trails that have been paved that are horrible. Like I'm looking at the east end of DVSS, and that thing is crumbling and being patched, and it's only like 2 years old. So I'm just wondering, is do we make sure that there is a standard, or do we have various standards for various?
I
Would you
can
like to
answer
answer?
that. Actually, I can
can.
answer it since you guys are both. Yeah, and the reason I can answer is that the first section we did, which was from DVSS to 19th Street to 5th Street, the mix that was used was a different asphalt mix. We used a lot of millings in there and added oil to it, and then we realized almost immediately that it wasn't binding well, and so all of the rest of them that we've done since then have all been hot mix asphalt, so which is just like, as you said, roads. So the stuff that we're doing nowadays from after that first year is all the same mixture as the roadways are, so you'll see that that'll be a lot better condition. I think at some point in the future, uh, you know, other than doing, you'll figure out that repairs may not be worth it and to actually replace that and stuff. But yeah, it was very much a type of, and stuff that's been used in other centers very successfully, but it didn't seem to work very well as far as the mixing of the oil and the old aggregate. So.
Anybody else? All right, all in favor? Carried. All right, now you get your next one.
So the next RFD that I'm going to present is the 6th Ave Road connection, which is part of overarching part of the DARP initiative. This one is a little different. So this one was in engineering and design for quite some time to make sure that everything was captured, and there were quite a few revisions that were done during that process just to ensure that everything was going to work well. We also had the addition of some water and sewer lines that weren't additionally part of this project to support future expansion. So that has been allocated into the funding for this as well. This is pretty big job. We're hoping that we can get this one awarded and completed on time. The part of the issue we have with this is that after the public tender, so this went out provincially and on bids and tenders like every other capital project, we didn't receive as many responses as we were hoping for on this one. We only received 3 responses, and unfortunately within those 3 there was only 1 compliant bid. Now, saying that, from a financial perspective, it wasn't any more or less than the others. They're very much in the same ballpark financially. But all the bids came in over our budget. We had an initial cost estimate, but it was done in May 6th of 2024. So obviously, almost a year's gone by. The costs have severely escalated in the construction world as well as everything else. So that does leave us with a shortfall. So East Butte Contracting was the proponent that was compliant. Their estimate for this, their bid submission for this work is approximately $1.4 million. The total construction budget for this project is 1.3 and a little bit over 1.3. We do have commitments to date from the engineering perspective. So that's taken into consideration. Plus there'll be some hopefully money allocated for not full-time project management going forward, but at least project management from a perspective where if, if questions arise, then we have the engineering firm to be able to assist and help with that. So we're looking at a total construction cost with a 10% contingency, or a little bit more than 10% contingency, of 1.68 million, give or take. So that does leave us with a shortfall. So this is where it kind of ties into the original RFD that I spoke about, the street improvement project. So basically there's three options to move forward that infrastructure services can see. One is approving just additional funding for the project. So wherever that funding comes from, that's where it would get pulled from. The second option is reducing the scope to fit within the existing budget. Now, I went back to the consultants and asked them to provide a report basically stating, like, if we reduce scope, what would the cost be and what would it look like? They came back. Unfortunately, the only thing that we could really get rid of would be the sidewalks and basically some of the landscaping. And we would only save about $80,000 by doing so. So I don't know if that's something that council wants to entertain. It would be odd having the pathways just kind of end at 6th Ave extension with no way to access anything on the north or south side. The third option is basically delaying the project until 2026 if the additional funding is required. Saying that, seeing as how there is a balance on the street improvement project, infrastructure services is asking that we can take that $355,000 that we have left in the budget for street improvement and basically allocate it towards the 6th Ave extension. That would more than make up for any financial shortfalls and would allow us to award the project without having to go into reserve funding or trying to find funding from somewhere else. So this is kind of where the second motion comes into place. So for this one, the first motion is that council authorizes an additional $355,000, excluding GST, be transferred from 2025 SIP capital budget for a total budget of $1.688 million, excluding GST, to complete the project as identified. The second motion, that council approves the award of 6th Ave Road Connection Project to East Butte Contracting as the highest ranked proponent.
All right, thanks, Jason. Let's go back to 6.3.1 on the second motion, council. Can I get a motion on that one, please? Crystal?
I move that council direct administration to reallocate any remaining funds from the 2025 street improvement program capital budget to the 6th Avenue Extension project capital budget to complete its full scope of work.
Seconder, please. Tom? No, sorry, that wasn't your hand. Patrick. Comments, please. Oh, go ahead, Crystal.
No, sorry.
All right, Tom.
Yeah, I'm not sure I like that, any remaining funds. That's a little bit nebulous. If we are going to take the 355,000, whatever, why don't we say that? Like maybe the budget goes over, maybe the budget goes under, then we're approving 400, 300, 200.
Crystal, we accept a friendly amendment of the amount?
Is it the amount or just the wording?
He's
Okay,
basically saying reallocate the $355,414.59 from that to that, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I accept that friendly amendment.
Correct. Okay. You accept? Okay, all in favor of the friendly amendment? Or Patrick, do you agree? Okay, all in favor of the friendly amendment? All right. Okay, any other questions on that? All right, all in favor of that amended motion? Thank you. Okay, now we'll move on to 6.3.2. And can I get a motion, please, council, on this one? Tom?
I move that council authorizes an additional $355,414.59, excluding GST, be transferred from 2025 Street Improvement Program capital budget for a total budget of $1,688,014.59, excluding GST, to complete the project as identified in Alternative 1.
Seconder, please. Stephanie, comments, please. Crystal.
We we've been talking about the Sixth Avenue Road connector for a really long time. Before this council, before the prior council, like it's always been, actually, I think really when the development of that area happened, it was kind of, that was the future plan. So as we can tell in 1 year how much prices increased. If we wait another year, we have no idea, especially with trade war and everything that's going on with the US. Who knows what'll come out? And it's always, you know, you think ahead, but then you think back and you're like, oh, darn it, we should have done it. So I'm saying, let's do it because it's got to get done.
Anybody else? Absolutely well said. That's what I would have said.
I guess I just want to add one part. One of the things you didn't mention, Jason, but you will in a second, is the STIP funding possibility.
Yeah, sorry about that. So there is outstanding STEP application that we are hoping will be awarded. We just don't have a confirmed timeline. Early June?
So if I may interrupt, so the province has come back and said this STIP award can be between April and June of this year. So cross our fingers we get it in early April and we can continue to move forward this project. The one thing I do want to note with that $400,000 grant from the province, that will reduce the reserve contribution that is already included in this budget. So that reserve funding will go back into coffers for future projects.
Thank you for clarifying. All right, all in favor of that first motion? Carrie, can I get a motion to award the project, please, Tony?
I move that council approves the award of the Sixth Avenue Road Connector project to the East Butte Contracting Limited as the highest ranked proponent.
Seconder, please. Patrick, comments? So just to be clear, you're confident with this company? They meet all the standards, you have no second guessing?
No, they have a pretty good resume. Their proposal was quite detailed. It was very well done.
And our goal is to have this completed before October,
That is the goal.
because you know that everything has to be done before October.
Yes,
Okay.
September 30th.
Just so we remind you all. Okay, thank you. Tom?
Yeah, just one other comment, and I made this comment before. When we get this road finished, could we or should we approach Alberta Transportation that when they are redoing the truck route, their next paving, that they do a turn lane on the right-hand side going west? So that would turn now into this road and go into downtown. Right now, there's no turn lane. There's a turn lane going east. That will be great, but there's no turn lane on the right-hand side. So anyway, when they're repaving, you know, it wouldn't be a great big project, I don't think, but it would help so that people would turn there and then turn into downtown.
We'll have a conversation with Alberta Transportation when they do come in to repave Highway 9. There may be some pushback from them because it's already a 2-lane highway, and they may just say that right-hand lane is for making that right-hand turn and not actually provide a designated lane.
All right, any other questions? So just a reminder, go ahead.
Is it just okay if I add something?
No, because we made the motion, it's too late.
Well, with this Sixth Ave project, we are going to have to relocate the recycling depot on the south side of Railway. I just wanted to put that out there because we are going to start doing that. We'll put out as much public notice as we can before the move happens, but that is something that we are actively planning on. Well, we have to do it to support the project. So as more details come available, I'll make sure that they get passed out to everyone that needs to know, including the residents.
Yeah, and I just personally hear a lot of people want it beside the bottle depots where the old bottle depot was taken down, just because they go do their bottles and they can do their recycling and everything at once. So maybe there's an opportunity to work with them. I'm not sure. I know it's a tight turn and stuff like that, but worth consideration. All right, anything else? All in favor? Carrie, well done to you and Connor on this, all the work you guys have done. It's well presented and easy to follow. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to 6.3.3. And we get the honor of having Greg Storch in council chambers.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Greg Storch, Operations Manager, Town Drumheller. Here looking to on a request for decision for our hook truck that we've proposed. The Public Works Department is seeking approval to purchase a hook truck equipped with a roll-off style system to enhance our operation and fleet. This vehicle is essential for waste collection through facility sanitation and snow removal, reducing manual labor and improving staff ergonomics. The purchase of this will streamline municipal operations and provide municipal multiple purpose functionality with interchangeable skids. We had put it out on bids and tenders for 21 days. We received 3 tenders back. Through the process, we only had one that demonstrated the ability to support our needs that we had set out. I'm just recommending that council approves the procurement of the hook truck as proposed in the request for decision.
Thank you, Greg. Can I get a motion, please, council? Tony.
I move that council approves the purchase of a multi-use hook truck for the operations department for the total cost of $290,698.53, excluding GST.
Seconder, please. Tom. Comments, please. Tony.
So is this unit landed in Canada already and not subject to any ongoing tariffs, or is the order being filled from outside?
No, the truck is sitting in Lethbridge right now, waiting to be built. We're just waiting for all final approvals, and they'll hopefully be starting on this as soon as possible.
So that is your firm award value then, is the 290? That's not going to move?
No, it shouldn't move.
Okay. Just a second question with relation to that. We also had some light duty trucks in the capital budget to be, have they been tendered, awarded, or are they going to be delayed? Are tariffs going to enter into this, or do you have any idea on that?
I'm not sure on the light trucks on those ones. Jason was dealing more on that one.
So yes, the light trucks will be impacted by tariffs. They are coming out of Mexico, so depending on how they cross, whether they cross rail or by ship, we'll see how this impacts the total cost. So we're not 100% sure at this point. We have been provided VINs. They are in production, so we will not find out until they land in Canada.
Will your decision to move forward on the trucks be impacted by whether there is or isn't? Is that a call you need to make ahead of time, or is it just going to happen in 25?
So the budget is flexible enough to accommodate those potential costs. So we're hoping that we can actually stay under budget once those trucks arrive.
Anybody else? All in favor? Carried. Well done, Greg. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, we're going to move on to 6.4.1, Daryl, please.
So I'm just doing this for Victoria because she's in a course right now in BC and she hasn't got out of her course yet. She thought we'd be on till 6 o'clock, so I could talk very slowly if we want to. So, all right. So this is bylaw 1825 supplementary property tax bylaw. So this is so every year we do a general tax bylaw, which will be coming to you, or levy, which is coming to you in May of this year, based on the assessments that were recently mailed out. However, the general tax bylaw does not, or levy does not consider the portion of properties that were constructed and completed after December 31st of the previous year. So there's this, from the assessment, you can see on your own assessments, you can see the information about the June 30th and December 31st dates and how important they are for assessments, and how the taxes relate to it. So what this does is to account for any of those properties that were supplementary assessed. So who received, so the easiest example would be is you bought a lot that was a bare lot on June 30th, 2024, and then you built a house starting in July and completed that house by, say, November. So your tax notice for 2025 would show or assessment notice and tax notice would show a bare lot. However, the supplementary tax assessment and supplementary tax notice would show that a house was constructed between July 1st and December 31st. And so you would essentially receive two tax bills and two tax assessments for the first year after construction. So what this supplementary bylaw is for is it's intended to be able to capture those properties that had a supplementary tax assessment done and be able to charge them a supplementary tax for it. So you can see that in 2024, we received a total of $2,210 roughly for residential taxes supplementary, and $122,000 and change for commercial properties, including linear property, which is oil and gas lines. So we're predicting about $5,000 to $6,000 in property tax due to supplementary assessment in 2025. So a small amount, but still important for us overall for the organization. So what administration's recommending is that this is a housekeeping bylaw that we've passed in the previous years, and that we were recommending all three readings be passed this evening.
Thank you, Daryl. Can I get a motion, please, council, for first reading, Patrick?
I move the council give first reading to bylaw 18.25 supplementary property tax as presented.
Seconder, please. Crystal, all in favor? Carrie, can I get a motion for second reading, please, council? Tom?
I move the council gives second reading to bylaw 18.25 supplementary property tax as presented.
Seconder, please. Stephanie? Comments, please? Crystal?
I have a quick question, and it's just in relation to a home that was burnt down in Newcastle. They just moved in at the end of December. So this would be something that this would be affected to them too, because the home was going through that renovation throughout the whole year.
Yeah, that's actually the same. I was thinking of that same
Okay.
property, actually. Yeah. So that would be an example of a place that would get a supplementary assessment and a supplementary tax bill.
And even though, because we had approved for the tax, I can't remember the,
It's a tax abatement for destructed improvements.
Right.
Yes.
okay.
So which we gave them in 2024. So they received a reduction for the fact that their house was uninhabitable for that period. And then now this would be the reverse of that. So, yeah.
Anybody else? And we've done this every year. Housekeeping, yes. Okay, all in favor of second reading? Carrie, can I get a motion consent for third, to go into third, Tony?
I move that council gives unanimous consent for a third and final reading of bylaw 18.25 supplementary property tax.
Seconder, please. Patrick? All in favor? Carrie, can I get a motion for third reading, please? Stephanie?
I move that council gives third and final reading to bylaw 18.25 supplementary property tax as presented.
Seconder, please. Crystal? Comments? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Jody, seconder, please. Stephanie, all in favor? Carried. Wow. 5 pages and we did that. Thank you for everybody that's with us. A reminder that it's 2020 challenge. Please get out, help our community. For businesses, close your lids, pick up everybody around your properties. We really would appreciate your help. And thank you to everyone. We received numerous emails and phone calls about the world's largest dinosaur. We will continue to monitor that. And again, let's just be kind to our friends, neighbors, family, and those we don't know. It's let's just find it in us to be kind to everyone. So take care of yourself and have a great week. Thank you.